All right, so again, like rectangular, we're in surface area. We talked about covering face, the options. Now we're doing the calculation. We showed that 4, if 4 is here, if I build my shape, 4 will be here. So 3 then will be on the side of my base as well as the side of here. How do I know that? Because if I have my shape formed, I need to know that 3 will be here and here. So on my cutout, when I'm unfolding it, I know that if this is 3, this also is 3. So the sides here are 3 as well as for B. So one thing I'm now looking for is what is the longer distance, because now I have those, I need to know the longer distance. The longer distance is 11, because that is what is going on here. So again, that's why these cutouts are very useful, because we can make our shape and then try to really see, can I match up what goes where? If this is my side, that's my side. So I know here has to be 11. So what does that mean inside of every box? Remember, that just means all I'm doing is finding the area. These are all rectangles, so I'm using A equals B times H, so base times height. So now we're going to just kind of go through and find the area of each box. So for box A, it's 4 times 11. So 4 times 11 is 44. So for box B, it's going to be 3 times 11. So B, 3 times 11, which is 33. Box C, if we look at our shape, we'll notice that whatever this one side is, 4 is, C also has to have the same measurement. So this will be 4, and this will be 3, because it's a rectangle. So 2 sides have to be the same, and the other 2 have to be the same. So I got 2 4s, and I have 2 3s. So C will be 4 times 11, which is 44. D is 3 times 11, which is 33. E is 4 times 3. So 4 times 3, which is 12. And then F is also 4 times 3, which is 12. So once I have all of my totals, all of my areas, I need to now total them up. And when I add them all up to get a total, I should get 178 cubic centimeters, because it's area. So 178 centimeters cubed. Now, yes, sir. I didn't hear you back. Did you try it and what did you get? But that's a great question. So let's talk about it. So IB asked a great question. He said, why can't I just multiply these 3 numbers together? If I multiply all 3 numbers, what are we calculating then? Volume. This isn't about what fits inside. This is about the outer sides. So if I want the area of like these are faces, but I like to think of it as skin. If I want the skin of this 3-dimensional feature, this rectangular prism, I know I need to really be mindful that each part matters. So if I have 2 sides have to be the same. And that's why I stress the fact that use your tools. Use your tools so you don't make mistakes. Let's go to the next one here. So here, decompose the net into shapes and complete the table to determine the total surface area. So again, they gave us measurements here. If they tell me, and I'm going to use a highlighter. If they tell me here that this side is 3, what else is going to be 3?
The other side.
Right? 3 is also going to be here. But what else? Think about your shape. What does this side on your base touch that you know have to be 3? Yes.
The other bottom.
the other bottom that's connected to it. So right here then has to be 3, right? And right here has to be 3 because those are going to touch it. So I know those will be 3. So now we kind of know where the 3s are. So we know this is 3, this is 3, 3. And again, the better you become at doing this, the easier it will become for you, and you don't have to do so much planning out. But initially, you need to plan it out to understand. So now if this is 8, what else is going to be 8? Right. So if this is 8, I know this is also 8. And what part of my rectangles are going to be 8? Yes, sir. Oh, you got to wait. That's a great question. So if we notice, these all are going to be 8. Why? Because they have to, they're what touching. There's one other way to do surface area without having to use the nets. But I'm going to tell you something. It's an equation. You have to use a formula to find it. And it's a little more complicated. It's not really complicated. Let me not lie to you. It's not hard at all to use an equation. But I'm going to tell you the struggle place is that you got to follow the equation. And you guys don't like to follow equations. So I got to show you it this way because a lot of times it's tested showing you a net and saying calculate your do your calculations. So you need to understand how to make a shape and what touches what. So if you understand how it's formed, you can understand better how to break down to know how to calculate because this is nothing but composite shapes. So with that, now we can calculate because 15 goes all the way across. So I'll just even make 15 a whole different color. So now we can be able to go in and do all of our calculations. Because our first shape here, we know it's an 8 by 3. So we know we're saying 8 times 3 here. And I'm going to just go down the line. That's 8 and 15. So 8 times 15. 3 times 15, 8 times 15, and then 3 times 15. So what are we noticing as a pattern? How many times are we multiplying by 15? 4 times. So we're going to notice that 15 is going to get multiplied all throughout the middle. But how many times by 3 and how many times by 8? 2. So what does that tell us? We can be smart about this. And as long as we understand that there's 3 numbers, that we can always find another way to be able to do the math. So what does that look like? No matter what, all of these formulas is going to be B times H. Well, lowercase b. B times H, B times H. I'm sorry, he's going to go after the notes, and then you can go after him. Yeah.
It would be 8 times 15 times
2. Exactly. So that's what we have to know is that if you notice, one thing about the prisms is everything is kind of times 2. If I know that everything is going to be multiplied by 2, then I have to understand how do I break up these numbers. That means that I'm going to really say 2 times 8 times 15. Because that's one of the numbers they gave us. They gave us 8 and 15. Then it's going to be 2 times 8 times 3. Because those are the other 2 numbers. And then 2 times 8 times, wait, not 8, 3 times 15. So if you really want to know what the formula is, this is really breaking up the formula that the 8th grade learning that you will see in 8th grade, because 8th grade don't use nets. They only use the formula. And the formula is 2 times length times height times 2 times width times height times 2 times length times width. That's what the formula is. But to tell you that is more complicated than to show you the breakdown of it, because this is something you can go back to your notes. So if you have highlighters, it'll be great for you to pull those out to make sure that you have some different colors so that you can see that. So what does that look like? 8 times 3 is 24. Well, 8 times 3 is 24. So 24 times 2 is 48. So that's 48. 15 times 3 is 45. 45 times 2, that's 90. So this is 90. 8 times 15 is 120. 120 doubled is what, 240? So when we add up these three numbers, 240, 48, and 90, what do we get?
240 times 48. That goes 288, right?
Yep, 288, and then plus 90.
Oh, what? It's 378.
300 and what?
378.
378 cubic meters. So what do we notice the differences about the faces of the rectangular? That's what it was, that if they're all rectangles or all prisms require us to multiply by 2. All right, I'm going to our next page in our notes. Yeah, yes, there is homework. So now that is, let me just say what that was. When we just did that, we calculated what was called total. I don't know why it's not written on there. Well, it is. It says total. This was our total surface area. Total surface area. That means we calculated everything. We're not always asked to calculate total surface area. Sometimes we need to calculate the lateral surface area. Lateral surface area is referring to just the faces without the base. So lateral faces means no base. No bases. Because it's going to only be the sum. Remember, sum just means adding of the areas of the surfaces of a solid except the bases. So this is the most important piece that we need to know. No bases are in the lateral surface face. Sorry, thank you. Can you not do that? I don't need someone to repeat what someone else said. All right. So here, find the lateral surface area of the prism. So now we do not need to worry about the basis this time. Lateral just means we're only dealing with the middle, which who's wrong? Like, there's nothing wrong with that. To me, it's easier to know that. And because we know that we do everything by 2s, that means what? That means this is going to be 5 times 4.2. And then, so I'm going to skip one, and I know I'm going to have another 5.5 times 4.2. And then the middle ones are going to be, if this is 2.9, I'm looking at 5 times 2.9. And this is also, I'll just turn to the side, 5 times 2.9. So if you need color coordination here, those are all 5.2. Oh, I mean, those are the 5 times 2.9s. Yes, because this number here is a 2.9. Do you see that? It says 2.9 centimeters. This number here is 2.9, and then this number here is 4.2. So this is just pushing us to do area. That's all we're doing. It's not meant to be complicated. It's area. And to be able to look at a net and determine what is the area of each one. So you can do 4.2 times 5, and whatever you get, multiply that by 2. Because that's going to be 2 of them. So 4.2 times 5, that's what, 8. Oh, wait, no, that's not. That's, just do the math. 21. And then I'm going to multiply this by 2. So that's 42. And then, so if that's 42, and then I do the next one, The next one is 2.9 times 5. 5 times 9 is 45, so that's 5 carry the 4. 10, that's 14. 1 decimal place, and then multiply that by 2. So that's 28, so that's what, 29? So now I have to add those up. So that's 42 plus 29. That's 60, 71, 71? 71 centimeters squared. So my answer will be 71 centimeters squared here for that. Now if it asks me what's the total surface area, that means now I need to include my base. So what do you think the two numbers I need to multiply to get the base?
4.2 is on the bottom.
So
Like the bottom of the base.
4.2.
And then 2.9 is the side.
2.9 is the side. Great job. So you will multiply those two together and add it to the 71. So total surface area would be 71 plus whatever we get from multiplying the, can you tell us what we get from multiplying 4.2 times 2.9? What's 4.2 times 2.9?
12.18 times 2 is
12.18 times 2 is what?
24.36.
24.36. So 71 plus 24.36, and what is that? I got 95.36. So my total will be 95.36.
No.
Wait. 71 plus 24.36 is 95.36.
No, first I said the first one, then I said times 2 equals 24.36.
Right.
So it's 24.36.
But look at what it says. It says total surface area. Great question. You just gave us the area of the base. But for total, I need to add the lateral plus the base to get the total. No problem. Great job, though. All right. So now they gave us the shape and we don't have the net. We can go ahead and do the net, or we can look at the numbers. We can draw out the net, or let's look at the numbers. What did we notice that we multiplied to get the lateral? We multiply the side times part of the base, right? So why can't we do the same thing? So here, we're going to say we're going to multiply. I'm just going to give each one a different color. So we're going to multiply because, again, I just want the lateral. I don't want to multiply what I can get the base for the lateral. The base to multiply to get the area of that will be 4 times 2.5. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, I don't want that. But I want to get this side, this blue side, not blue. I want to get the two orange sides, and I want to get the two purple sides using 8. So what does that look like mathematically? That means I'm saying 8 times 4. What's that? What's 8 times 4? 32. How many orange sides do I have? 2. Because remember, we multiply by 2, so I can just multiply 32 by 2, and what do we get there? That's 64. And then I have 8 times the short side. So this was the long side, and now this is the short. 8 times 2.5. What's 8 times 2.5? 20. So 20 times 2 is 40. That covers all of my lateral, the long and the short. Now let's go ahead and calculate the base, because we know we have to end up doing base anyway. So base, we said, is 4 times 2.5. What's that? 10? times 2, because there's 2 base. That's 20. So I have my long side, my short side, and my base. So 64 plus 40 is what? 104. And then total surface area will be 104 plus the base of 20. So that's 124 cubic inches. So now we have seen how to do this multiple ways. Which way is easier to you? Please close down your computers because there's no need for them to be up. So again, they seem complicated, but they're really not. It takes practice. That's one thing. That's why we're going through it step by step, is so that you can practice. Because truly, practice is all that's going to help you be great. Let's go to number 4. All of the surfaces of the cube net below are being painted. How many square feet will be covered? So if this is a cube, what do we know about the cube? If this is 4, what does that say about every measurement on here? Everything is 4. That means this side is 4. This side is 4. I mean, every side of a cube is going to be the same. No matter where you are, if you got to write them all in, please do so. Because I want you to be great. So what do I need to multiply to get the area of each one of these? Or can I, if every side is the same, what is the area of one cube? Let's start there. 16, because you said 4 times 4 is 16. So if this is 16, that means each one of these is 16, correct? So I'm just going to write 16 in each box. How many 16s is this?
16.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 16 times 6 will give me my total surface area. 96 cubic feet. So now let's go to number 5, because this matters and we're going to see it here. Jarrell is using butcher paper to cover 4 faces of the cube shown. If he want to cover 4 faces of this cube, what is he really covering? Is it total or lateral? How many did we just say are total? 6. If he's only covering 4, what is he covering? Total or lateral? So we're talking about lateral here. So go back to this. How many are in lateral? How many faces? It's 4 faces, right? Okay, good to know. All right. If Gerald will not cover the bases, then how many square inches of butcher paper will Gerald need? So what do I need to know? How can I find the area of one of these spaces? What do I need to multiply?
3.5 times 3.5 times 4.
So 3.5 times 3.5, that's going to give me one face, because if we even draw it out, if you got to draw out the shape, do so. We know what a cube look like. We have a whole example right next to us.
Times 4, 49.
And he's only covering these parts, 3.5 times 3.5. What's 3.5 times 3.5?
12.24 or 25.
So you said it's 12.25. And he's doing this to 4 of them. So we're really saying 12.25 times 4. And what do we get?
49 cubic inches.
49 square inches. Because cubic will be to the 3rd power. So square inches. Great job. All right. 2 students were asked to determine the total surface area. So we're talking total surface area of a rectangular prism. Neither of the students correctly completed the task. Determine what mistakes each student made and correct their error. So here, let's go. The first person. This is the shape here, and they got 220 and another person got 275. So the best thing to do is for you to start to calculate the total surface area. So think about the long side. So if you need to write like, let's calculate it for ourselves. So long, what would I multiply to get the long side? Go back to what we did here. For the long side, what did we multiply? We multiplied this long side here by the longer side of the base, right? So if you look here, what are we going to multiply? 11 times 5. So 11 times 5, and that's 55. And what do I need to multiply that by? By 2. So times 2. And you'll get what, 110. And then so even though it's not a short side, but we'll keep the same language. Short, that's still going to be 11 times 5 because we were doing the other one, right? 11 times 5, which is 55, times 2, that's 110. And what about for the base? What do we multiply for the base? 5 times 5, which is 25 times 2 is 50. So this is what is correct. So now we got to look at how did they go wrong? How did they get 220 when we got something different? What do you think they calculated to get 220?
They only calculated 110 plus 110 and they didn't add the 50.
So that's what we were right there. So what did they calculate if they only did this part but not the bases? What is that called? What language are we using? What is that word? The lateral. So this one calculated the lateral only, right? And what did Bella do? What did, let's see, what can we figure out that Bella did wrong? Because what would our total surface area be here? What answer should we be looking for?
270.
Okay, so we should be looking for 270, but that's not what Bella got. So let's try something else. Let's use IB's method. He said, why couldn't we just multiply all three? So if we multiply 5 times 5 times 11, that's 25 times 11. What is 25 times 11? Is it? No. 275. So Bella used volume.
Oh yeah, Bella did it wrong.
Right, because she got a different answer than what we got. Whenever you have questions that ask you things like this, you need to first do it correctly. Because if you can calculate it, then you can kind of see it. And I just thought we should use IB's example because that makes sense. Why can't we do that? But that's volume. Whenever we just multiply 5 times 5 times 11, and that's how they got the 275. All right. Now, this is your homework. Let me explain what this looked like. Because, yes, it's a riddle at the bottom, but the riddle is so you know that you got the right answer or the wrong answer. I don't look at riddles. I use this for self-help. What I look at is your ability to show work. So the expectation is that you're showing your work. So if you need to write that, show work or no credit. If you don't show your work, you do not get credit. I want you to hear me clearly. If you don't show your work, you do not get credit. I don't care who you are. If you don't show your work, I will give you a 0 on this assignment and I will not accept it back. Do we understand that? Because the point of this is not for you to say, oh, my friend knows what the riddle answer is, so now I have the answer. No, the point of it is so that you know how to do this. So again, it's not difficult. Use the examples in our practice to help you. I promise you, you can't go wrong. Go ahead.